All right, we're doing this. We are live. We are live here on the Locked On Syracuse YouTube channel right now. This is the first time we've gone live, experimenting a little bit with you guys on this. Drop your questions in the chat right now. I'm doing the old Jeff Goodman right now, Tim. I'm kind of delaying, stalling, letting everyone sort of hop into the event here. And then
acting like we've been here before.
Exactly. and then we will get into all things Syracuse, Georgetown in a little bit. Again, drop those questions in the chat. Let's do it. Live show, Locked On Syracuse, coming up right now.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome in. This is the Locked On Syracuse Podcast. I'm Tyler Aki. I'm joined by Tim Leonard, as we are every single day here on the show. Today's episode brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. We're live, Tim. We're live. That means we're not allowed to mess up today.
Somehow made it.
I don't know how I made it, but I'm here somehow. Through a flight delay, through a lot of traffic, getting back in Chicago. But I'm here fresh out of a trip out east where I saw Syracuse play. We talked about that a little bit, but it's always good to be home here. And we thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all platforms. Also, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the show. We're knocking on the door 250 right now. So go be our 250th subscriber if you are new to the show. All right, let's dive into this Georgetown matchup because let's just start with this, okay? And I see Ted Joya has hopped into the chat. I met him at the game. This is one of my favorite listeners right now for doing a little listener power rankings. I love you all, by the way. But I did meet Teddy at the Garden, which was awesome to see. David Chandler, we see in the chat as well. Good evening to you. But let's just get into the whole Georgetown. Let's start with the rivalry question, right? Because this is something that always gets sort of brought up here when you get into Syracuse and Georgetown. I saw Jeff Goodman always tweets out. Again, we're plugging the hell out of Goodman
holy cow.
So far.
Is Jeff Goodman in the chat here?
No way he's in the chat. But he puts out his games of the day, the games to watch. And he has a long laundry list for Saturday, and it doesn't include Syracuse, Georgetown. And to me, I think that kind of shows the sign of the times. Yes, listen, in terms of the marquee matchups of the best teams in the country, no, this is not one of those games. But you figure with the luster of it all, like I compare it to Bears and Packers, right? Where they're the Sunday night football game this upcoming Sunday. NBC's got the opportunity to flex out of it, but because it's such a big rivalry game, even though one team sucks and the other team's pretty good, they're never going to flex out of it because it's a big NFL rivalry game. And you figured with a game like Syracuse and Georgetown, it'd be such a big rivalry game that you couldn't get it off your television screen. It's got to be one of your marquee matchups if you're ESPN, but here we are, and it's kind of being brushed to the side.
It is. It's disappointing because the games are usually pretty good. Like since Syracuse has gone to the ACC, 3-3 against Georgetown. I was going back through the previous games, and last year was a 5-point game that, if anything, was misleading. It was a 74-69 win at home for Cuse, where they played Pittsburgh and started the ACC play with a loss, and it was sort of in a weird time in early January. Year before that, though, 89-79 win for Georgetown in D.C. That was Mac McClung going for 26 points. Then you had the Tyus Battle game the year before that, 2018, I guess it was, 72-71 win. He hits the game winner. Like, there's been some good games. There was an OT game where Frank Howard made a nice play to force overtime, and Syracuse sort of had a crazy rally to win. Then another one that they lost in the Dome was when Pearl got his jersey retired. It was the Tyler Lydon NIT year. Really needed to win, and I remember being at that game, really disappointed they didn't get the win.
That was a cursive script game, by the way. Well, I don't know what – I haven't seen the jerseys yet. I don't know if it's been released yet, but listen, they are the most beautiful thing in the closet, but
we're not
I think
winning.
It's time to put them away.
Yeah.
Because what, they wore them against Colgan, they wore them against Nova this year, and it feels like they never win in the cursives.
I know. Our guy Owen Valentine, shout out to him if he's listening to the podcast version or anything, because sometimes he does, but he's been on this block for a while. Went to school with him, and he was a guy that was really preaching that the script jerseys need to go. They do look so good though, and that's the
such
tough
a
part
beautiful
about it.
jersey. They're such a beautiful jersey, but they do have to go because I mean, I don't have the numbers on it. Like when I used to write at Orange Fizz, I used to give the Dino outfit reports of what was Dino's record when he wore blue, when he wore orange, when he had the camo hat, when he had the normal hat. And I have to go back and look, but it's got to be an awful record. And guess what? This is an Orange script game. Like this is a script game. I know I haven't seen the jerseys yet.
They're
Sometimes
gonna
I tweet them out, but
probably.
they're gonna wear them. Like it's just one of those things, and it's a shame because they are so beautiful, but they they don't lead to a lot of wins, which I think is the frustrating part. When you look at Georgetown, and Ken Pom currently projects this to be a 1-point game, and
I
that
was
result
surprised
has
by that. Were you?
well, that result has teetered back and forth throughout. Like if you've kind of watched, we always kind of get a glimpse at what the preview of Ken Pom has down the road, but it's been going back and forth. 1-point Georgetown win, 1-point Syracuse win, and now we're settling in a little bit on this 1-point Syracuse win. I would not expect that to change between now and tomorrow. But yeah, I'm with you. A little bit surprising because this Georgetown team is outside the top 100 in Ken Pom. And now Syracuse isn't that great on Ken Pom. They're 60th in the country. But for a team like Syracuse against this Georgetown team, yeah, that's surprising to me.
Yeah, and also I'm going to steal one of Anthony Dabbundo's nuggets from later, but he did the Bart Torvik simulation where you take away any preseason bias, and I think he said they're 212 or 210 or something like that. When you remove that, so I was actually, if anything, this sounds crazy, but a little bit surprised that Georgetown was 109 on Ken Pom because you look at what they've done so far. They opened the year with a loss to Dartmouth. That's a bad Dartmouth team, really bad loss at home. You go out to Anaheim, you play in a Thanksgiving tournament. You lose to San Diego State, pretty much the only good team they played because this is a pretty lousy schedule they've had.
They beat Joe Girard's Siena Saints, though.
They did beat them. I saw that. So I don't know what that means for Joe. But they lost to San Diego State by 17 points, lose to St. Joe's by 3 points out in Anaheim. And then
Lenardi's got his eyes on that one, too. Lenardi's,
right.
I don't know. For those who don't know, Joe Lenardi is the color analyst for St. Joe's Radio. So he got his little glimpse of Georgetown. Yeah.
Right. So their strength of schedule to this point, 336 in the country. Now, that's not taking their entire body of work. Like, it's going to get a little bit tougher, but that's one of the easiest in the nation so far. They lost to South Carolina 80-67 on the road last weekend. I guess the one thing that might give us a little bit of pause here is they're coming off probably their best performance of the season by beating UMBC on Wednesday night. 100-71, a dominant win. But again, like UMBC's 213 in Ken Pom. So what can you really take from that?
Right, exactly. And just looking at some of the specs for Georgetown, I mean, their offense is almost outside the top 100 and their defense is outside the top 100. Like, you can say what you want about Syracuse. Do they struggle defensively? Yes, but their offense is damn good. It's 23rd in the country right now. They can hit the three ball. And they've got an emerging offensive
damn good.
center.
I mean, they just scored 53 points, right? Like, it's good. But
like, when they are at their best, they are one of the probably 15 best offense. Like, if you get your best possible Syracuse performance, they're one of the 15 best offenses in the country.
I will put it this way. I think if they're playing against a bad defense like Georgetown is, like, I think they're going to score points against Georgetown, and we're going to see this game play out more like the Indiana games and stuff like that, where it's a high-scoring, back-and-forth, fun game to watch.
Yeah,
but
I think that's a good comp.
Is when they're going up against good defenses, they don't look great on offense this year. So it's hard to say it's damn good when they've scored 53 points. They scored 63 against Florida State. They've struggled against tight pressure and tight defenses.
Yeah. And I think there's not going to be that guy who can lock down Buddy in this game. And that, to me, I think is going to be one of the intriguing things. Can Buddy get back on track? Because he's struggled the last couple of games. And even look at that Florida State game. I always told myself this season, kind of my motto heading into the season was, if Buddy's having a bad game, this team is incapable of winning said game. We saw them somehow pull it out against Florida State, despite Buddy's struggles. But then we saw against Villanova, like, if Buddy had a good, not even a good, like, if he had a solid game, Syracuse has a very good chance of winning that game. And that's, I think, the frustrating part is that their best player in a big time spotlight just had a bad game. And if he has even an average game there, Syracuse has a damn good chance of beating a top 10 team.
Yeah, but you said it best. Georgetown doesn't have a guy that's going to slow him down. I really think this is a bounce back game for Buddy when you factor in how hard he's been working. Jim Boeheim had a quote on his coach's show last night that he went downstairs and had to pull Buddy off the treadmill, basically, because he said he was on there for like an hour. And that's just the type of work ethic he has, it seems like. Now, I don't know how much of that is his dad just pumping him up a little bit, but I think it is true, and he wouldn't just say that. It's also just a defense that Buddy should be able to score against. And he's only shooting 25% from three so far, which makes you think that he's due for some positive regression there. And it also just comes down to when he goes up against tight defense, he struggled. But when he goes up against defenses like we're expecting to see from Georgetown, he should be fine. Plus, if there's anyone that gets up for the Georgetown game still, I think it would be the son of Jim Boeheim, right?
Like, we can talk and crap on whether or not this is a rivalry all we want, but if it means anything to someone, it's Buddy and it's Jimmy, and obviously Jim in this game, and Patrick Ewing on the other side as well. But like, this means a little bit more to those guys for certain when you talk about this matchup. All right, we will get into the prop shop and some of our picks and some other nuggets. By the way, drop those questions in the chat. We will address those with you guys throughout the course of today's show. But first, I got to tell you about On Location, because they are sponsoring some great stuff with us here on the Locked On Syracuse podcast, and they do a lot of great things throughout the entire Locked On network. So let's talk a minute about things kicking up a notch for the big game. The grand stage, the big game, Super Bowl 56 at SoFi is less than 100 days away, and On Location, the official hospitality partner of the NFL, is the only place to score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package to the big game. Select your exact seats and choose from elite experiences, including an exclusive pregame celebration with college stars turned NFL legends Troy Aikman, Marcus Allen, Tim Brown, and more, plus accommodations at 5-star hotels in LA and food by the great Wolfgang Puck. So visit onlocationex.com/SB56 for more information, or search Super Bowl On Location. That's onlocationexp.com/SB56 or search Super Bowl On Location.
All right, this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you want to be running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software. To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-the-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. That is netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA.
Let's get into the prop shop here, as we like to do on every single preview show. And I got to say, Tim, we're like two ships sort of passing in the night right now, because you, my friend, just took the lead on me. Not that either of our numbers are impressive right now, but you did have a 4-2 performance in the last game, while I limped to a 1-5 performance in the last the Nova game that I was at. But you right now 15-20, down 480 on the year, while I am 13-22, down 850. I have really been on a real cold stretch here, but we'll try to shape that up a little bit better for this game. Let's start with Georgetown. In a game where Syracuse got obliterated on the offensive glass, Georgetown offensive rebounds, you're setting the line here at 16.5. Will the Hoyas go over or under that number?
So here's the thing. Georgetown's bad. We talked about that, but they do have a couple of things that are good in terms of a formula against a 2-3 zone, which is offensive rebounds, and they're decent three-point shooting wise. 28th in the nation right now in offensive rebound rate on KenPom, and they're second in the Big East in offensive rebounds per game with about 12.5 per game. Syracuse allowed 27 last game. They're allowing like 16, 17 a game, it seems like. I'm going to take the over here. And I think that's the key to the game for Georgetown, and that's the area they're targeting. If they're going to win this game, it's going to be because they get to the glass like Nova did.
Yeah, my concern with Georgetown is that a phantom sort of percentage because of the competition that they've played. But at the end of the day, like Syracuse has not shown the ability to box out and kind of rebound out of the new shell of the zone. By the way, I know you produced Devo's pod, but hearing Ellen Griffin call it a 2-3 zone, no one even knows what it's called. Nobody knows what it's called, but
I get what he's saying.
No, I get what he's saying. Yeah, like it's just like
funny
a different.
Too how Devo, the way he dressed that, he was like, "What is it? It's a 1-1-3." Like, we just need an answer on this.
My favorite part too was that Devo's just like, "That's what I'm saying." Like I guess Devo thinks it's a 2-3, but I don't know. Whatever the hell it is, it's at least working defensively. It's not necessarily working rebounding the basketball right now for the Syracuse team, and that's frustrating.
I don't know if the formation really impacts rebounding. I think the thing that Villanova did well.
It's just never been good.
It's never been
a rebounding
good.
tool, right?
And that's usually my take on it. Villanova did a good job of spreading out their shooters, and they play a 4-out, 5-out system already. And that was their thing against the zone. They always had a guy in the corner. So then Jesse, I mean, it's hard to put a number on it, but I would think if you tracked how often Jesse goes to the corner, that was one of the most frequent games. Right. He was going to the corner and he was out of position for the rebounding. And there were so many times watching back the game where it was Cole Swider against 2 or 3 strong Villanova guys down low. And Cole did have 12 rebounds, but you know,
Cole's
you're not going to get
right. Yeah. In Cole's defense, some of his 1-on-2 matchups rebounding the basketball, like you got to be pretty happy with how it turned out with all things considered. But at the end of the day, you should not be in a 1-on-2 matchup in a rebounding battle. So that is a little bit frustrating, certainly for Syracuse fans. But yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of how this zone is run. When the guy who should be your most prolific rebounder goes out to the corner and effectively pulls himself out of rebounding positioning, it's tough to win a rebounding battle that way. So I'm with you. I will go with the over on Georgetown's offensive rebounds here, 16.5. Let's get to their 3-pointers. 10.5 is the number that you've set it at. Will they go north or south of that?
Yeah, again, so they're pretty good against the 3, 28th in the nation, just as they are in offensive rebound rate and 3-point field goal percentage, 39% on the year. But how much of that is the competition they've gone against? They've got a couple guys that can shoot. The guy from the Citadel, Rice, I believe is his name.
Caden Rice, yep.
Caden Rice. He had 34 points in the last game and went 10 for 12 from 3. So he's the guy that we just got a funny comment from David Chandler talking about how there's one guy that might be averaging like 5-6 points, and then he goes off against the zone. Well, Rice is coming in after a huge game here, so you got to get out on him, I would think. He is averaging like 14 points per game, which they have 3 or 4 guys that are right around that mark in their starting lineup. But I would say they go over just because Syracuse is allowing so many 3-point attempts with this 1-1-3, and they're allowing about 11 threes per game.
Yeah, I'll go slightly under. I just think that some teams have really struggled against this. And I don't know how good Patrick Ewing's going to be as an X's and O's guy of breaking through on this. Because like Patrick Ewing, the allure with him as a coach is that he's a great recruiter. And he, I mean, for Christ's sake, he's Patrick Ewing, right? Like who wouldn't want to go play for an NBA Hall of Famer, like one of the 100 greatest NBA players of all times? And I'm shortchanging him on that. But the X's and O's hasn't always been his forte. So I'm wondering, okay, what kind of game plan is Patrick Ewing going to have against this new iteration of the zone? So I'll go with the under on the 10.5. I think
also Dabundo's going to touch on this again. I'm sort of running over his points, but it does feel like eye test wise, teams have missed some open threes here. And I think Syracuse might be due for a team to get hot from 3. Not like Colgate level, because that's not going to happen that often this year. But I don't know. This is 2 games in a row against good 3-point shooting teams that Florida State and Nova, when you look at shot quality, stuff like that, they weren't shooting as good as they normally do based on the looks they were getting. Now, some of that is the 2-3 zone throwing you out of your rhythm a little bit, but this is a decent 3-point shooting team in Georgetown. They don't attempt as many threes as Nova, so it'll be interesting how much they rely on the 3 in this game.
Let's look at Syracuse from behind the arc in this one. Over under 9.5 made threes for the Orange.
So they're averaging 8 a game right now, 8.3 if you want to get specific. I think this is a game they break out from 3. And it's not going to be a team like Villanova that pressures them and doesn't help off shooters at all. And all of a sudden Villanova, they were 5 for 15, Cuse was, from 3. So they just aren't attempting a lot of threes against tight defense, but I think it's going to be more like what we saw against Indiana, where they went like 13 from 30 or 13 of 30 from 3, something in that neighborhood.
We've got one comment. They want to know, JG3, this is coming from Lowell Judio, and I apologize if I'm botching that pronunciation, but they ask, JG3 over under 15 points. They're going to throw one into the fold here. JG3
I would go over
15.
Because
yeah, I'm with you. Like, he gets up for these games.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's played well against Georgetown. I was looking back. I think he's been in the neighborhood of 20 points both of the first 2 times they played here. And again, it's just, it's like every player on this team. If it's tight defense, I think they're going to play well they're going to play poorly against tight defense. If it's good or bad defense, they should be able to score. And that's JG3 more than most players too, because when he's handling tight pressure this year, it has been ugly at times.
By the way, did you see he was on with our guy Jordan Capozzi on ESPN Syracuse? I believe the show's called Double Down. And they asked him to do his best Jim Boeheim impersonation. And
I missed that.
He said the best one that Jim always says to Joe is, Joe, this isn't Glens Falls anymore. You're not in Glens Falls. And I just lost it when he was doing the impersonation. I thought that was pretty funny.
Joe.
This isn't Sienna Joe.
Then I'd know he'd listen. That'd be pretty funny.
Exactly. So I'm going to go with the over 9.5 threes as well. And that kind of leads me into this next question of who will lead Syracuse in scoring. And that leads me to I'm going to go out on a limb here, Tim. All right.
Okay.
I am making my lock of the year in the prop shop. And that is Buddy Boeheim to lead Syracuse in scoring.
I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Like it just makes too much sense, right? For him to lead this team in scoring this year, like or in this game, like he's had a couple bad games. Sometimes you just get these guys in these NBA arenas and they start to play a little bit better. I know MSG is an NBA arena too, but that's like if you look at like the cavernous of MSG, like I always remember O'Shea really struggled shooting in the dome from 3, but they played like 4 or 5 games in NBA arenas, and they were some of his best shooting performances from 3 of the season. And that might be something that helps Buddy out a little bit because, what is it now? Capital One Arena? Is that where
right.
It was like Verizon once upon a time. Now it's Capital One. And this was one of O'Shea's good shooting performances, if I remember correctly, was against Georgetown. So I'm going to go with Buddy plus 120. I just think that, again, lock of the year is that Buddy Boeheim will lead this team in scoring in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think I picked Buddy like every game, and it hasn't worked out that great lately, but I'm not going to stray away from it now when it seems like he's due for a good performance.
All right, we will get to our picks and all that stuff against the spread and all that fun stuff, as well as get to some of your questions in the YouTube chat as well. But what we like to do every single preview show is give you some advanced numbers. Here is our guy, Anthony Dabbundo from the Action Network to give you Dabbundo's digits.
The numbers you need to know. Anthony Dabbundo breaks down the biggest stats for this week's Syracuse matchup. Everybody! Dabbundo's digits. If you ain't taking stats, kick the out the class. On the Locked On Syracuse Podcast.
Syracuse left some meat on the bone offensively against Villanova, as our friends at Shot Quality expected them to score about 6 more points than they actually did in the game on Tuesday night. Most of that underperformance in the numbers came from Jesse Edwards and Buddy Boeheim, as both should have done more given their looks at the rim and from beyond the arc. But as we look ahead to Georgetown, the Hoyas are a bit of a mess. The Hoyas have one of the most inexperienced rosters in all of Division I. They lost multiple key contributors from the team that had an improbable Big East title and NCAA tournament appearance last year. They've already lost to 2 teams outside the KenPom top 200 and almost lost to number 198 Longwood at home. Shot Quality rates them as the number 149 offense and number 169 defense through 8 games, and there are some reasons to think this is actually a pretty good matchup for Syracuse. For starters, Georgetown ranks 28th in pick-and-roll ball screen frequency and 21st in frequency of off-ball screens to generate offense, both of which are very difficult to get against Syracuse's matchup amoeba 2-3, 1-3-1, 1-1-3, whatever you want to call it, zone defense. The Hoyas rank 232nd in catch-and-shoot three-point frequency, something the Orange are very prone to allowing this year and always, and are very bad at defending. While Georgetown isn't terrible at getting good looks when they do choose to take catch-and-shoot threes, it's not something the offense is particularly built around. The one player to watch who can absolutely spot up and nail threes is senior Donald Carey. He scored 10 points in the Dome last year in this matchup, shoots 44% from beyond the arc, and is one of the few experienced players on the roster. He's able to put the ball on the floor too, he gets to the line at a high rate, and assists others pretty frequently. I understand where Georgetown is rated at 108 in KenPom, but they haven't played at all like the 108th best team in the country this season. In fact, Bart Torvik's metrics say that based solely on the 8-game sample, they should be 214. Shot quality ranks them 158. Torvik's official rankings have them at 173 going forward. The Hoyas shoot threes at the 220th highest frequency in the country, so below average in terms of frequency, but they do shoot very well from beyond the arc. They're 31st on those attempts at 38.9%. However, it's unlikely the percentage will remain that high if they are forced to take more from beyond the arc, which the zone is poised to do on Saturday. This is a better matchup for the zone than Villanova was, but I think the most important question Cuse fans are wondering after seemingly improved defensive performances in the last two games, is it legit? Shot quality doesn't seem to think so. The model rates the Orange at 203rd in adjusted defensive for the year. Opponents are shooting 34% from three against the zone this year. The expected three-point percentage based on the quality of the looks, 37. There's actually more room to fall. The Orange allow the 11th best looks from three in the entire country. Of 358 teams, there's plenty of work to be done on that end. Bart Torvik gives Syracuse a 65% chance to win. Projected score 81-77. Lots of points in this one, while KenPom sees the game as a much closer contest, with the Orange at 53% chance to win by a projected 79-78 score. KenPom is much higher on the Hoyas than Bart Torvik is. We'll see who's closer to the truth come Saturday. And on a personal note, it was nice to see all the Orange fans, including Tyler, in the Garden on Tuesday night, and I hope to see some more in DC against Georgetown this weekend as Syracuse looks to bounce back and start a little winning run ahead of conference play in the Capital One Arena.
All right, our thanks as always to Anthony Dabbundo. I see our guy Ted in the chat. He says, if Dabbundo bets on Georgetown, we riot. And I haven't seen an official play from Anthony Dabbundo yet, but you can follow him on the Action Network. He was on Nova. I was sitting with him, and it was like he was like a little itchy and scratchy throughout that game, but then they started to pull away. And like I was talking with our buddy Drew, our buddy Jake, and we were kind of saying like, okay, like if Nova comes down and hits a three here, then yeah, you can kind of feel that the spread's in hand at that point. But when we come back, we will do our picks. I also want to talk about shot quality a little bit with you, because I think that's something interesting that he brought up there. And I do have some gripes with it a little bit. I don't think it's a perfect metric, but we will discuss that when we come back. But first, this holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar. It is Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, while also being high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, healthy and delicious. With so many flavors, you're going to have a hard time choosing whether it's raspberry or mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, or our personal favorite here on the show, the peanut butter brownie. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless holiday shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that something extra to keep you going. So be sure to have one on your person at all times, because it's the season of peace and love. Don't bring up your favorite Built Bar flavors at family parties, because people are so passionate about their favorite flavors, they'll fight for it, and things can get a little heated and out of hand. You friends with Santa? Tell Santa to throw a few Built Bars in those stockings, because with so many flavors, they'd make anyone's Christmas morning a happy one. Like some of the marshmallowy treats around the holidays, you need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, marshmallowy through and through, with different flavors, all covered in chocolate. They taste so good. Tim, we've had the marshmallows. Like, this will blow your mind. Things will blow your mind how good they are. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order. Again, Built.com, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. All right. let's get into the prop shop here, a continuation of it. Actually, I want to start with the shot quality stuff that Anthony brought up there, because here's my one gripe with shot quality is that I think it's a great metric at the NBA level. I think at college, it's a little bit flawed because it expects a little too much out of college kids making open shots, because that's the big difference between college and the NBA. In the NBA, you get a wide open wing three, you're going to make that thing 95% of the time, right? Whereas in college, you get a wide open wing three, it's not nearly that percentage. Like, it's
less
probably
consistency. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's my biggest gripe with shot quality as a metric, is that I think it's a better NBA tool as opposed to a college tool, because I think it's asking these guys, a lot of these guys who will never play another basketball game after their time in college is up, to make some of these open shots.
I also think there's something to that. Teams have to swing it around. They have to sort of get up shots late in the shot clock against the zone. They're flat-footed. It's not really in rhythm. You don't get like your step-in type of threes that you might get. If you're Villanova, you're so used to driving and kicking and getting threes. There's something to the fact that the zone, yes, it gives up quote-unquote open shots, but they're unorthodox. They're flat-footed. They're after passing it around for a while and standing still. That I do think it's tough to quantify that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. All right. I do want to bring up a chat question that we got here from David Chandler. He's got an observation about Cole Swider. He says, do you guys notice that Cole Swider just needs a tad bit more arc in his shot? He has fantastic mechanics, but I've noticed something is just a little off. Wanted to know our thoughts on that. And to that, I would say, I mostly agree with that. I think one thing with him is you very rarely, I feel like, see a pure swoosh. Like, you don't see the Steph Curry sort of makes. Like, the Steph Curry makes that never touch the rim at all.
Sure.
You don't see a lot of those with Cole Swider. You kind of see those back rim and down, or back rim and juts forward through the net. And listen, at the end of the day, with a little more arc on your shot, like, almost everyone can use a little more arc on their shot. Even something with Buddy, I would say. He's got kind of that same almost trajectory as Cole Swider, I would say. But if it's something that's worked in the past, it's not something that I'm necessarily concerned with overly.
I have noticed, though, it does seem a little flatter than Buddy or some of the other shooters on our team. Now, it's not as flat as Benny's shot. Like, Benny's shot is noticeably a line drive at times.
That is a Derek Jeter line drive up the middle.
Yeah, unfortunately right now. Swider also seems sometimes to be just like out of rhythm with his, I don't know if it's just a pressure thing or when he misses a couple early in the game, but it feels like sometimes, because he does have good mechanics like David brings up, but sometimes it feels like maybe the legs aren't matching up with the arms exactly how it would in warmups and everything. And Jim Boeheim has talked about how he's making everything in practice.
Even at the MSG warmup. Like, I was watching him at the MSG warmup, and everything, literally everything was going in.
Right. So I think it's getting confidence in the game for it to translate, but it's not, I don't know, it's a little frustrating because he's also not getting a ton of clean looks. Outside of the second half of Florida State, that's the only time we've seen him get clean looks. And Boeheim's talked about we need to get Swider more clean looks, because if we do, maybe we'll see it more like in the second half of Florida State when he did get hot.
Yeah, here's the best way to put it. When I see Cole Swider wind up for a shot, I would guess I am hitting like 97% of these. I know whether or not it's going in, just from the way that he's winding up on a shot. You kind of have that feeling with him, because you can almost notice that there's something mechanically wrong on his takeoff or something of that sort throughout. So that would be my one little comment on Cole Swider. All right, let's get into the picks for this game. BetOnline.ag has our number. It is 3.5 in favor of Syracuse on the road here. So a little bit different than what Ken Palm's projecting, but right about what Bart Torvik is projecting. Torvik's got a 4-point Syracuse win. Ken Palm has a 1-point Syracuse win. But where do you sit on this one? 3.5 in favor of the Orange.
I think they're going to win by about 10 here. And if I were to put a score on it, I would say it's probably pretty similar to the last time that Syracuse was in DC, except they win this game. The last time it was 89-79 Georgetown won. I think it's like 88-78, 89-79 Syracuse win, because Georgetown can shoot it a little bit. They can get offensive rebounds, but I do anticipate this game going over that 155 mark from BetOnline.ag. The past couple games, I've felt like it's been the under has been the play for Syracuse, but this is a team, Georgetown, that likes to go up tempo. Their tempo is 29 on KenPom. And I think the fact that they want to get up the court quickly will make Syracuse also get up the court quickly. And I think we will see a high scoring, fun type of game in this one. Similar to Indiana is how I think the pace of this game will play out.
Let's put it this way. I kind of see it as Indiana without the collapse at the end. Like maybe Georgetown pulls it a little bit together at the end and makes it a little more respectable, but I see Syracuse covering. I'm with you. I think this could be a double-digit game. In fact, I would lean that way pretty heavily. I look at some of these
3.5
numbers.
feels light, and that's why KenPom shocked me.
Yeah, and listen, I think of some of these games that Syracuse has against power conference opponents. Like, this is one of my candidates for it to be a double-digit win for Syracuse. Like, this is, if I had to list all the power conference opponents and rank the likelihood of a double-digit win for Syracuse, this is probably my top 3. Maybe even my number 1 in terms of a double-figure win for the Orange throughout this season. So, yeah, I mean, it's more of a lack of faith in Georgetown and on the other side. And even I look at San Diego State, that game that they played earlier, San Diego State plays with zero pace. I mean, we saw it last year in the NCAA tournament, right?
Yeah.
They're one of the slowest teams in the country. Everything's designed that way. And they still found a way to put up 73 points in that game, that being the Aztecs. So I like Syracuse to put them on and really take care of business against this Georgetown team. As for the over-under, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a high scoring. I think it could get into the 170s. Like,
yeah,
it could be a 90 to 80 game.
That's what I'm thinking, honestly. And maybe a little bit less than that because I think this 1-1-3 has slowed down even fast offenses a little bit. Now, Villanova just likes to play at that pace anyway, but it's the idea of not being able to get it into the high post as much that sort of initiates the offense, and just dribble penetration's a little tougher against this defense, it seems like. But Georgetown's going to make threes, I think, and I think Syracuse is due for a couple more threes to go against them in this game. So I expect it to be pretty high scoring, pretty back and forth, pretty good pace to it. Also, this is a must-win game, right?
Yeah.
Like, can't lose, whatever you want to call it. You can't lose this game because
you built up some goodwill with those first 2 victories against Indiana. Again, we kind of talked about this stretch. If you can make it out of Indiana through the start of before you start conference play, so Indiana, Florida State, Nova, Georgetown, Lehigh, Cornell. In that stretch, we said what? You had to go, what was that, 6 games in there, right? That I just mushed
but
together?
It's also, you maybe
we said you got to go 4-2.
Goodwill, but you also just got back to what, like, you should have been worst case scenario,
right,
which is 5-4, because you lost to Colgate by 15.
Right. But I think if you go 5-1 in this stretch here, that's a really good sign. Really good.
Yeah.
Going 5-1 against the stretch of Indiana, Florida State, Nova, and your one loss being a Villanova game that you were pretty competitive in for most of the game, and your best player had one of the worst performances that he'll have this season. I think you live with that.
No, I mean, if they do their job the rest of the way here in the 2021 portion of the schedule, you're 9-4 and you're 2-0 in conference play as we turn to the new year, right? That's fine. That's not, if you had told me that at the start of the year, I wouldn't have been jumping over the moon, but I would have expected that. It's a little concerning that this tough non-conference schedule has been them again. I mean, the only game they've won that has gotten me too excited here has been the Florida State win. Like, Indiana was a decent win, but Indiana blew like a 20-something point lead to Wisconsin the other night.
Right.
They're a decent team. I just think at home they should win that game. That wasn't that much of a surprise to me. The Florida State one was winning a game you shouldn't have won. And you need to do some of that after you lost to VCU and you lost to Colgate.
Especially when you do it in conference. Like, to get out to that 1-0 conference start, I think is stellar. All right. That is going to do it for us here on our live edition of the Locked On Syracuse podcast. We'll do this again. We'll do this periodically throughout the season. I enjoyed this. Enjoyed interacting with all of you guys in the chat. We will be back on Monday with a full recap of the Georgetown game, and we'll get you ready for the week ahead as well, previewing Lehigh, all that stuff, all the other basketball notes that come up, because ACC play is going to be here before you know it. Like, I mean, Christmas is literally around the corner. New Year's right around the corner. And that's when things start to really amp up. So we appreciate all of you guys for watching us live today and joining us in the chat. I've got one more chat question, actually, I want to get to here. It's coming from Michael Antonio. He wants to know, Tim, does Georgetown still suck?
Yes, it is 7:46 in Georgetown.
Checking my watch right now. Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you guys